Hey everybody, JJ here with Thrivistry, and I have a ton of people competing at the NorCal Masters this weekend, and they just announced the workout, so I wanted to make a video kind of going through that. So this is for Saturday, and we'll talk about what the workouts that they have planned, and I'll give you guys some strategies on how to approach them. Another thing I wanted to mention too, if you guys are part of Thrivistry, that we have the game day prep guide. So if you go down and you log into the Thrivistry site, you should be able to download that game day prep guide, which is a slideshow you can go through to make sure you're doing everything you need to the night before, and kind of what sort of mindset things and mentality things you should be doing the day of. So a lot of reminders, even for people who are more experienced competitors, maybe some stuff they haven't thought of. What exactly you should be doing after a workout, how to mentally prepare before, things like that. So make sure you check that out. All right, for Saturday they're starting off with a 4-rep max thruster. Now, I don't do a ton of max effort thrusters, but it is a good test, kind of a combination of squatting and overhead movement. A couple things: you can squat clean the first rep, so most of you guys are going to want to do that. And then you have to press it out. There's no jerking it, so just keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to something that's you have 4 minutes to get your max. Now, depending on if they let you preload your bar or not, it might be how many sets you do. But what you'll want to do is, as a warm-up, you want to make sure you warm up to your opening weight. And so you want to make sure that you hit that opening weight. It's always better mentally to especially for people who are a little bit more nervous when they do this stuff, to just start with a really simple opener that you can hit no problem. Unlike other competitions like powerlifting and weightlifting where you only get 3 attempts, just having that think of the first attempt as the end of your warm-up. You want to remember that there might be a lot of time between your warm-up area sets and getting out on the floor. So just having something and just being very confident in your ability to do it. And then you can also perform the movement at a very deliberately to make your judge happy. And that way they're not going to be watching you. If you're kind of sketchy on that first one, they're going to be a lot more tuned in to trying to make sure you hit depth or did you get lockout. Now, and the way this one works is definitely take your time, right, to make sure every rep counts. So don't lower the bar too quickly. Make sure that you're really completing that rep and waiting for them to call good rep. And then you'll want to pause a little bit between. So bring it down to the shoulder, take a breath, make sure you're bracing correctly, and then drop down and really think about driving with the legs. A lot of times people get kind of caught up in the movement and they don't think about how much the legs are really getting that weight overhead and not their arms. So just make sure that you're really thinking about driving through the legs and the hips. Most people are going to want to get about 3 or 4 attempts. If you try to do more than that, you're going to be really fatigued, and chances are it may end up affecting the second part of the workout. And it just means you'll be more rushed and changing plates and things. So again, if they allow you to, especially if they allow you to preload the bar, hit that first one right away, load the second one, hit the second one right away, and because it should still be fairly doable, and then that third attempt should be near your max, right? So if not your max or a PR, should be pretty close. Ideally, you won't do a set where you fail, so you don't want to necessarily go to failure. But if this is a good movement for you, and you know that you have to get a certain score to beat other people or whatever, then you may try to go for that last set where it's sketchy if you're going to make it or not. But as it gets heavier, remember you're going to slow way down because you're going to have to pause on the shoulder. You may even pause 3, 4, 10 seconds between your third and your fourth one, just standing there holding it in the rack to make sure all their muscles start to recover a little bit. So just keep that in mind, and that's why I prefer people to kind of do more of the 3 or 4 sets, because the last one will feel a lot less rushed. So again, we want to get points on the board. Remember that you have to change the plates for the next movement. So kind of a more advanced strategy is when you're loading the bar, load it so that you're setting yourself up for the next one. Now the weights change depending on your age group, but if you put the lighter plates on the inside when you start, it just makes stripping the bar a lot more efficient, and you can focus more on resting and not having to completely clean the bar before reloading the plate. So if you put those smaller plates on the inside, that can be an option for you. Now, if you finish early, which is kind of ideal, right? If you finish at the 3.5 or 3:45, that's just going to give you a little bit more time to rest. You'll feel less rushed going into the next workout. Like I said, especially if you just have to strip off a couple plates and you're ready to go, it's going to make the next one go a little bit smoother. So workout 2 is after we get 1 minute rest, and then you're going to do an 8-minute AMRAP of thrusters and burpees. So definitely squat clean the first rep on those burpees. The sets get increasingly higher. So when we have these workouts where the reps go higher every time, you'll want to get through the first few rounds fairly quickly. Now, not try to pace them out because there's so much transition time. But after that third or fourth round, you're going to want to settle into a pace. That might only be a minute or two in, and you don't want to get caught up going too fast into round 4 and 5, and then it really crushes you in the later rounds. So the big thing here is the burpee over the bar. There's no hip open requirement as far as I can tell, and you can step over. So I think a lot of people are going to benefit from doing the burpee and then just literally staying hunched over and just doing a quick little step over the bar. Now hop might be faster, but in this case we're going to be doing a lot of reps, and so unless you're just a real burpee ninja, I would recommend just coming up as low as you can, almost like there's a low ceiling. Stay low and go right into the next rep. Just step over and go down. Now there's another technique you can use too to save your shoulders, which is kind of a rocking style, but I'm not sure how strict the judges are going to be on that. But that's basically where you make yourself like a rocking horse or a rocking chair. So after you step down, you'll kick your legs out to the burpee, and then you'll rock forward so your thighs and chest are touching, and then your feet will actually be slightly in the air, and then you can rock back into the push-up, and that helps save your shoulders for the thrusters in the later rounds. So that's something you can play around with if you haven't done that before. If you haven't done it a whole lot, I wouldn't try to add it to this workout because it could just mess you up. But the big thing is staying low. So workout 3 is the shuttle run kettlebell pull-up workout, and it's kind of a part A, part B, which is interesting. I remember doing this workout back in 2013 as a test for some of my athletes that were competing that year. It's a spicy one. It definitely got my heart and lungs working. For me, and I think for most people, it's actually a running workout. The small sets of kettlebells, 10. It's pretty heavy, but not crazy, and it's something that's a pretty typical weight that I use quite often. And then 5 pull-ups is not really a whole lot either. So it turns into a very big aerobic workout, and it's especially good for people who are good at running. So I'm not. The directions weren't really clear. They said at minute 9 you have to go back to the start and do 3 rounds for time, but then they mentioned minute 10 a couple times. So I think that was a mistake. I'm assuming they're going to do the minute 9 so that people have more time to finish the 3 rounds for time. And so the way this one's going to work is the running takes up a lot of time. So on the longer one, I wouldn't pin the run as much and just kind of use it a little bit as a rest. Definitely try to go unbroken on the kettlebell swings and the pull-ups, and then you can adjust the intensity on the runs. That way you're a little bit more rested from going into the second set. Now in the second set you're gonna have to run hard. That's just the way it goes. 3 rounds for time. You're not gonna have a lot of time to jog that. So definitely kind of pace the run on the first one, and that way you can get more rounds, and you'll have a little bit of gas in the tank to go right into the final sprint at the end. In these cases, you can try to game it and really crush one and suffer on the other because it's a 50-50 workout. But for most people, you're best trying to pace the first one a little bit, just because unless you're really good at knowing your capabilities and pacing, that second one could end up, the wheels could totally fall off. You could go way too hard on the first one, and you can't. There's no going back, right? So if you want this little bit safer play to do is to kind of pace the first one a little bit, and if you overpace it, you'll go a little faster on the second one because you pace it a little bit more. But if you go too fast on the first one, like I said, it can completely fall apart for you. The last one here is the long row and then a short row. So it's 1,000 meters for men, then 500, and then 750 and 500 for the ladies. Kind of interesting. The ladies' distances are pretty similar. So one thing I'll point out is that it's for total time. So the thing is you shouldn't necessarily sprint the first one or try to cruise and then sprint the second one. You actually want to have a pretty consistent pace for the whole thing. But definitely be a little bit conservative on the first row. Again, same reason that I mentioned on the part 3, A and B, is that being a little bit conservative. Generally speaking, if you have that mindset, I'm going to be a little bit conservative, because of nerves, you'll still probably go too hard. That's just really common for most competitors. So even if you think you're pacing, you're still probably going a little bit too hard. The problem is if you plan on going hard and you're already amped up, you go way too hard. So you should kind of know what your 1,000 meter row time is, and you want to be around 90% of that. And so you use that 500 meter pace to try to be more consistent. Remember things like getting a couple short strokes, a quarter stroke, a half stroke, a full stroke to get the flywheel spinning. When you start each time, that's going to pay off a little bit because of the two starts of the rower. But row that first one a little bit conservative, like I said, because then you can make up time on the second part. But ultimately, you kind of want that pace to be about the same for the whole thing. Now, during the minute rest, you're going to want to keep moving. So a lot of times people are, if they really went hard, they're going to just want to stop. And by moving the joints through a range of motion, it's going to help flush out some of the byproducts from the exercise and help you recover for the next one. So don't be totally passive and stop. You actually want to kind of pull the handle and keep moving and pumping your legs and moving your arms a little bit. You don't have to do it the whole minute, but doing it as kind of a cool down a little bit will help you recover for the next one. Now on the next one, again, the tendency might be to sprint the second one, and you want to start with a steady pace. Now toward the end of that, you can sprint. You can speed up toward the end if you have a little bit more gas in the tank. But ultimately, the fastest rowers, kind of in the fastest endurance in general, it's a more consistent pace for the entire effort rather than sort of like a peak effort and then slow down and then peak again or something like that, or peak and then declining the entire time. We'd rather see that kind of negative split where you stay at a steady pace and at the very end you speed up just a little bit. Avoid that tendency on the first piece. Don't try to speed up before the minute rest a lot. You might just do the last 20 meters or 50 meters. You might speed up a little bit, but don't try to pin it, because again, if you really crush yourself on the first one, it's gonna hammer you on the second part, and then the minute may not be enough time to recover. You should need a recovery. You shouldn't be totally rested, but that's why I'm saying about 90, maybe 95% effort. But definitely don't go for a max effort 1,000-meter row or 750-meter row before going into the rest. But that's it. In the next video, we'll talk about Sunday.